Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. Good day to everyone. I am Norjana Pasawiran, the third reporter of Group 4. So at this time, I will be discussing about the curriculum evaluation through learning assessment. So we have gone a long way in understanding, interpreting, and applying the concept of curriculum development. We will continue to understand that curriculum can be evaluated right in the teacher's classroom. Finding out if the planned, written, implemented curriculum are functioning as intended in the assessment of learning is very crucial. So how does a teacher know that the students have learned from what has been taught? So many educational practitioners agree that the measure of one's teaching is indicated by what the children have learned. The teacher cannot claim that she has taught if the students have not learned anything. So let us find out in this lesson that assessment of learning is an evaluation process that tells whether the intended learning outcomes through the teaching learning process have been converted into achieved learning outcomes. We will also find out that learning outcomes can be measured through the use of different assessment tools. Further, as future teachers, you should also understand and interpret the grading system that has been derived from assessment of learning. So let us know first the Philippines Qualification and Framework, or the PQF. So PQF is a reference system of national standards of what qualifications one has earned by education and training. It specifies what an individual has learned in and out of formal schooling or the lifelong learning. So based on qualification, levels and degree of competences and knowledge, skills, applications, values, and degree of independences. So, ang PQF ay isa itong reference system ng national standards kung ano ang mga qualification uh, ang natamo or na-earned ng isang tao sa pamamagitan ng edukasyon at training. So, ito ay tumutukoy kung ano ang natutunan ng isang individual sa loob at labas ng formal schooling or the lifelong learning. So, based sa qualification, levels at degree ng levels and degree of competences on knowledge, yung mga skills, applications, values, and degree of independences. So, matatakal natin yan sa mga slides ko. This is the diagram of the Philippine Qualification Framework detailing the levels from basic education to higher education and the Philippine educational system. So, yan yung diagram ng isang Philippine Qualifications Framework. So, the PQF is divided into 8 levels. As you can see, may level 8 siya. So, level 1 to level 8. So, the first level 1 is to be achieved by grade 12. Grade 12 graduates who can be awarded a national certification 1 or yung tinatawag natin na NC1 if qualified by the TESDA. So, the other levels of qualification progress along the educational ladder in the Philippine educational system from grade 12 in basic education to higher education from baccalaureate to doctoral and postdoctoral levels. So, yan ang diagram ng isang Philippine Qualifications Framework. So in all the eight levels, the individual is expected to achieve specific standards and competences as evidence in the learning outcomes. The competences are clustered into 3 domains, which are the knowledge, skills, values, the application, and the degree of independence. So yan yung una kong sinabi na mga competences. So na-clustered siya sa 3. So, as you can see, sa anong tawag dito? Yan siya. So, the PQF1, which is the grade 12, the PQF6, which is the baccalaureate degree, and na-typo lang yung, yung degree sa ano. So, PQF7, which is the master's degree, and the PQF8, the doctoral and postdoctoral degree. So, the knowledge, skills, values of grade 12 is number 1, possess functional knowledge, range of learning areas and technical skills, and choosing career tracks with advanced competences and communication, scientific, critical, and creative thinking, and use of technologies. The number 2 is the understanding of right of wrong. So one's history and cultural heritage, deep respect of self and others. So, ang grade 12 naman sa knowledge, skills, values ay dapat na nagtataglay ng functional na kaalaman sa mga learning areas at ng mga technical na kasanayan sa mga napiling career tracks. So, by choosing a specific career track before going to college, senior high school students can make the most of precious time and resources by studying learning areas that are actually related to the courses that they want to pursue in college, or the jobs rather that they wish to apply for after graduating, instead of simply studying one general subject after another without learning a particularly useful skill or piece of knowledge. So yun yung yun yung mga career track. So in the K-12 K-12 program, career tracks cover 4 major fields of study. Yung academics, yung arts and design, yung sports, and yung the TVL, the technical vocational livelihood. So, yun siya. Yung mga technical na kasanayan sa mga napiling career tracks na may mga advanced na kakayahan sa komunikasyon, scientific, critical, at malikhaing pag-iisip at paggamit ng yung mga technology. So, yung number 2 naman, ang understanding of right and wrong. So, yung pag-unawa mo or alamin, or kumbaga alam mo yung which is the right and wrong. So, yung one's history and the cultural heritage, deep respect of self and others. Yung mga kasaysayan at yung pamana ng kultura, yung deep respect or ang paggalang sa sarili at sa iba. So, dapat alam mo yan. Now, let us know naman yung PQF6, which is the baccalaureate degree. Yung knowledge, skills, values niya ay number 1, possess broad and coherent knowledge in the field of discipline or profession. So, ang baccalaureate degree naman, the knowledge, skills, values niya is nagtataglay ng malawak at maliwanag na kaalaman sa larangan ng kanyang profession. For example, teacher. Your profession is teacher. So, dapat alam mo yung ano yung nasa teacher. Maliwanag at malawak yung kaalaman mo about the profession that you have chosen, or kung ano yung yun. And now sa PQF7 naman, which is the master's degree, so the knowledge, skills, values ay yung possess broad and deep knowledge and the field of discipline or profession. So, sa master's degree naman ay nagtataglay ng malawak at malalim na kaalaman sa yung sa profession mo. So, 'di ba sa baccalaureate degree ay yung the broad and coherent knowledge. Dapat nagtataglay ng malawak at maliwanag na kaalaman. Sa master's degree naman, kumbaga mina-masters mo na yung profession mo. Yes. Dapat nagtataglay ng malawak at malalim na kaalaman sa iyong profession. So now, the last is the PQF, which is the doctoral and postdoctoral degree. So the knowledge, skills, values niya ay generate new knowledge, skills, would establish values in the field of discipline of profession or profession, rather. So, sa doctoral and postdoctoral degree naman, syempre dinodoctorate mo na yung profession mo, or yes. So, syempre, makakabuo ka ng bagong kaalaman. Generate new knowledge, yung mga skills na would establish values sa yung in the field of discipline or profession. So, dito naman tayo sa application. Kung ano yung application ng grade 12, the baccalaureate degree, the master's degree, and the doctoral and postdoctoral degree. So, the grade 12, ang kanyang application is apply functional knowledge, technical skills and values in academic and real life situations through sound reasoning, informed decision making, and judicious use of resources. So ang grade 12, i-apply ang functional na kaalaman, yung technical na kasanayan and value sa academic at mapa-real life pa yan na sitwasyon. So, sa pamamagitan ng maingat na sa mahusay na pangangatwiran at matalinong paggawa ng desisyon at maingat na paggamit ng yung mga resources. So, yan yung application ng grade 12. So, i-apply mo yung mga knowledge, na yung na-gain at saka yung mga technical na kasanayan at values sa academic, mapa-real life pa yan na sitwasyon. So, dapat i-apply mo yan. So, sa baccalaureate degree naman, ang kanyang application is apply knowledge, skills, and values in the professional work. So, i-apply mo ang mga kaalaman, yung mga skills at values sa yung professional work. So, yun siya. So, master's degree naman is apply deep knowledge, skills, and values in the professional work and research. So, ang master's degree naman ay i-apply mo yung mga malalim na kaalaman, yung mga kasanayan at yung kumbaga yung halaga ng iyong professional work at yung mga research. Yes, yung research. So, the doctoral and postdoctoral degree naman ay apply in professional work and research as a leader or initiator. So, i-apply sa professional work, i-apply sa iyong sa professional work at yung sa research. Yes, sa research bilang isang leader or kumaga initiator. So, yun siya. So, dito naman tayo sa degree of independence ng grade 12 baccalaureate degree, the master's degree, and the doctoral and postdoctoral degree. So, sa grade 12 is degree of ang kanyang degree of independence is apply skills and varied situations with minimal supervision. So, i-apply ang mga kasanayan sa iba't ibang sitwasyon. Yes, yung mga kasanayan mo, yung knowledge mo, i-apply mo siya sa kahit anong sitwasyon na kumbaga ikaw yung may kaunting nagso-supervise, kumbaga ikaw yung namumuno, or yes, kumbaga ikaw yung nangangasiwa. Hindi naman sa ikaw, pero kumbaga yun yan siya. So number yung na baccalaureate degree naman ay ang kanyang degree of independence ay work independently alone or in teams. So pwede siya sa pwede kang mag-work independently alone or in teams. Sa master's degree naman is work independently. And the doctoral and postdoctoral degree naman ay highly independent. Yes. So, highly independent kang mag-work or teach or initiate and lead at saka i-initiate ang others, ang iba. So, yan yung domains. 3 domains. Thus, knowledge, skills, values, the applications, the degree of independence of grade 12, the baccalaureate degree, the master's degree, and the doctoral and the postdoctoral degree. So, yan siya. Note, the level 1 or the NC1, the level 2, which is the NC2, level 3, which is the NC3, level 4, NC4, and level 5 will be certified by the TESDA, while level 5 diploma may either be awarded by TESDA or CHED in their respective program. So, the Asian Qualification Framework or the EQRF is the Asian framework upon which the PQF and the other Asian member countries are referencing so that there will be ease and the mobility of professional students among others. So, ang Asian Qualification Framework or yung EQRF ay ang balangkas ng Asian kung saan tinutukoy ang PQF. Yes, natakal na natin yan sa first slide ko. So, at iba pang mga bansang membro ng Asian so that magkakaroon ng luwagan sa kadaliang kumilos ng mga professional at yung mga students among others. So, yun siya. Ito yung number 2, which is matching the competences and outcomes with the PQF by doing learning assessment. The mastery of the learning outcomes in terms of knowledge, process, understanding, and performance are measured in formal education, starting with basic education. So the measurement is often referred to as assessment. So, ang knowledge, process, understanding, and performance, ito yung kumbaga nagmi-measured sa formal education starting with basic education. So, ang measurement na ito is madalas tinutukoy ang assessment. Siyempre, ang assessment ang nagmi-measured sa learnings ng isang estudyante. In 2012, DepEd issued Department Order Number 73, which the K-12 grading system. So it was known as the KPUP grading system. So it standards for knowledge, process, understanding, and performance. So, so for further understanding, let us look at how the KPUP is calibrated in the different levels, with level 1 as the lowest and the level 4 as the higher level for use and formative assessment. So ito yung learning level, ito yung kumbaga level. Yes. So, learning level. So, we have 4 level. So, ang levels na yan, meron siyang descriptions of learning outcomes at saka yung sample guide question. So, sa level 1, which is the knowledge. The knowledge, which is the factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and the metacognition. So, the factual knowledge is an affirmation. when we take two concepts and add them together, then something is affirmed. So for example, run and boys are joined together. So to produce the affirmation, boys run. So we know that factual knowledge of affirmations because it is a knowledge of facts. Yung conceptual knowledge, yung eh, procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something. Think of the word procedural. So it is a root of procedure, which is an action. Some example of procedural knowledge are for example, how to drive a car and how to drive a car. Kumbaga, um, napapaisip ka kung paano ka matututo mag-drive ng car. So you have to you have to step and action para matuto kang mag-drive. So yun siya. Yung metacognition. So ito yung mga sample guide ng knowledge, which is the level 1. So what do you want your students to know in terms of facts, concepts, procedure, and multiple thinking? For example, parts of the body. Yes. Is the sky blue? How to dissect a frog? Describe a typhoon. So yan yung mga sample guide question ng knowledge. Yung mga parts of body. Ano ba yung parts of body? Ang sky ba ay blue? So, how to dissect a frog and describe a typhoon. Yan yung sa knowledge. Level 1. So, level 2, which is the process. Skills that the that the students use based on the facts and information for making meaning and understanding. So, ito yung mga skills na ginagamit ng mga students batay sa mga facts or katotohanan at information para sa pagbibigay kahulugan at pag-unawa. Yes. So, ito yung mga sample guides niya. What do you want your students to do with they know? So, ano ang gusto mong gawin ng mga estudyante na alam nila? Ito yung example. Dissect a frog and identify the different major body parts. So, syempre, sa level 1, nalaman na nila yung how to dissect a frog. And nalaman din nila yung different major body parts. So, sa process na ito, dito nila sasagutan. For example, dissect a frog and identify the different major body parts. So, dito magagamit yung process. And the level 3, understanding, making meaning to big ideas and concepts. So, sa understanding naman, yung pagbibigay kahulugan sa big ideas at konsepto. So, ito yung mga guide question niya. What do you want students to understand? Ano ba ang gusto mong maunawaan ng mga mag-aaral, yung mga estudyante? So, for example, how do the elements of weather interact to produce climate change? So, yan yung sample guide questions ng level 3, which is the understanding. The level 4, so dito na yung final, product performance or the performance. So, products, which is the material yung gagamitin, or performance, yung either oral, visual, written, or projects are evidences of learning. So, yan yung mga evidences ng mga learning. So, ito yung mga guide question niya. So, does your portfolio display evidences to show learning outcomes achieved? So, ito yung belong to products, which is the material. So, di ba, material din yung portfolio. So, yan yung ebidensya ng yung learning outcomes. So, yan siya. So, sa performance naman, ito yung sample guide question niya. Can you create one act play to show the principles of dramatization? So sa pag-act niya, pag-perform niya ng drama, makikita doon yung ano yung pina-act sa kanya, yung mga principles of dramatization. So makikita doon. So doon makikita yung mga learning outcomes na kanyang na-achieve. So sa projects naman, what research paper you undergo to report on the conversation of indigenous. So yan yung sample guide questions niya. So yung level 4 naman, dito na makikita yung learning outcomes kung at saka yung mga evidences of learning. So yan yung final niya. Assessment tools for each level of learning outcomes: knowledge, process, understanding, KPU, or the learning outcomes. Knowledge, process, understanding are learning outcomes. Yan yung mga learning outcomes, which is the knowledge, process, and understanding. Students who can show that they have gained knowledge. So, dyan na ipapakita yung mga estudyante kung ano yung mga nag-gain nilang knowledge. Can apply such knowledge and have achieved several meanings on the particular knowledge, have achieved that the learning outcomes. So, types of tests to measure knowledge, process, and understanding. So, dito naman tayo sa mga types of test. The first types of test is objective test. Test is that require only one and one correct answer. So, it is difficult to construct but easy to check. So, for example, ito yung true or false, it is difficult to construct a question or 'di ba sa true or false na test, 'di ba question yan siya or the sentence. So, it is difficult to construct a question or statement but easy to check. So, pencil and paper test. As the name suggests, the test is written on a paper and requires a pencil to write. However, in modern times, a pencil and paper test can also be translated to an electronic version which make the test paperless. So, ito yung parang sa Inkay, 'di ba? Yung paper lang at saka pencil. So, yung pagsagot doon, yung 'di ba bibilog-bilugan mo lang siya, yung i-shade mo lang siya. Yes. So, yun siya. Simple recall. This is the most common tool to measure knowledge. There are varieties of simple recall tests to include yung fill in the blanks, enumeration, identification, simple recall. So, I think we are already familiar of this kind of test kasi sa junior high, sa senior high, even sa college, meron tayong na-encounter na mga kind of test like this one. So even sa ganitong sitwasyon, yung sa Google form, always nating na-encounter yung mga enumeration, yung mga identification. Yes. So familiar na tayo about that. Yan yung simple recall. This is the most common tool to measure knowledge. So, ito yung mga ginagamit, mga most common tool na ginagamit para ma-measure yung knowledge ng isang estudyante. Yung assessment. 1.1.2 Alternative Response Test. So, this is the type of paper and pencil test. Na-discuss ko na to sa first sa objective test. So where two options or choices are provided, the items can be stated in a question or statement form. Example of this are true or false, yes or no. So alternative test response is ito yung type of paper and pencil test. Yes. So ang mayroon siyang dalawang choices or options. For example, yung true or false, yes or no, yung fact and fiction, yun siya. So, yung items niya can be stated in a questions or statement form. 'Di ba? Yung mga questions na nakaka-encounter tayo ng mga questions sa true or false na either question siya or statement or yung sa yes or no. Okay, yun siya. So, sa multiple choice test. So this is the type of identified as the most versatile test because it can measure a variety of learning outcomes. So it consists of problem and a list of suggestions, solutions. So ang multiple choice naman ay I think always natin itong na-encountered sa exam natin, yung multiple choice. Yan yung consists of problem and list of suggestion. Yung problems, tapos may mga choices siya. Either four choices or options. So, yun siya. So, the incomplete statement or indirect direct question is called the stem. The list of suggested solutions and words, numbers, and symbols or phrases are called alternatives, options, or choices. So, ang suggested solution na yan, which is the A, B, C, D, yan yung tinatawag na alternatives, options, or choices. Yung suggested solutions na yan. Tinatawag yan siya na alternatives, options, or choices. So, there should be 3 to 5 options in each item. So, meron, depende na yan kung paano magbibigay ang teacher ng ilan ba yung choices or options or alternatives na ibibigay sa isang item. So, the correct alternative is called the answers. Siyempre, yung choices, ang correct doon, ang correct alternative or choices doon, ang tawag doon ay answer. Syempre. While the remaining options or choices are called distractors or decoys. So, 'di ba sa apat na choices na yun, for example, may isang correct alternative doon, which is ang tawag doon ay answer. Tapos yung remaining na alternatives or options or choices, ang tawag sa kanila ay distractors or decoys. Some multiple choice items are presented with a stimulus material. So, yun siya. Let's discuss the correct answer type. The other alternative are clearly wrong and only one is the correct answer. So this can be constructed in either direct questions or completion of sentence. For example, sa direct question na direct question, gagamitin dito yung other alternatives are clearly wrong and only one is the correct answer. So, what is not a member of Asian 2015 economic system? So, may isa dito na tama, tapos, yung remaining choices are clearly wrong. So, yun siya. So, ginamit, sa question na to, ginamit dito yung direct question. Ito yung example ng incomplete sentence. So, a country in Southeast Asia, which is not a member of the Asian 2015 Economic Community is. So, meron yan siyang isang tama, tapos yung remaining choices, wrong na yun siya, clearly wrong. So, ginamit niya dito yung incomplete sentence. For example, ang tamang sagot dito ay Vietnam. So, idudugtong mo siya dito sa is. Kaya nga siya incomplete. So, sa una naman, yung direct question naman is parang gumamit siya ng what. Nag-direct na ba siya mag-question. Pero sa incomplete, dumaan siya, sentence siya, incomplete sentence. So, I hope you understand. So, now, let's move on to the best answer type. So, ang best answer type all alternative or choices is correct but only one is the best. So, sa best answer type naman, almost all the choices is correct. Pero may isa doon na may isa doon na best answer. So, gumamit siya ng direct question. What do progressive educators consider as the most important factor in the teaching learning process? So, sa almost sa question na to, almost sa choices na to is correct. Pero may only one dito na best answer. So, gumamit siya dito ng, ang ginamit niya dito na question ay direct question. So, as you notice, sa direct question is gumagamit siya sa, gumagamit siya ng what. So, ito naman yung incomplete sentence. Gumamit siya ng question na incomplete sentence. According to progressive educators, the most important factor in the teaching learning process is. So, as what I've said, lahat yan sila correct. Pero may isang best answer dyan sa 4 choices na yan. So, gumamit siya ng incomplete sentence na question. Actually, hindi siya incomplete sentence na ginamit niya na question. So, let's move on to the matching type test. The most common matching type test is made up of 2 parallel columns. Yes, I know we are already familiar sa type of test na to. The first column A is the premise that presents the problem, and the second column B provides the answer. So they are many modified matching type as well. This is the relationship that can be used in matching type test. So ito yung mga example ng matching type test. Column A and column B, which is 2 columns. Persons, achievements, dates, historical events, terms, definitions, principles, illustrations, parts, functions, machines, uses, diseases, and causes. Yung matching type test ay meron din siyang mga type. Isa na doon ang perfect matching type. The number of premises in column A is less than the number of responses in column B. The response can only be used once. For example, yung column A ay mababa yung, hindi siya marami, hindi gaya ng column B na mas marami yung choices. As you can see sa example, 3 lang yung binigay na sa column A. Sa column B naman ay 4. So, mas marami yung column B kesa sa column A. At saka, hindi siya pwede yung sa column B, can only be used once. Makaisa lang siya ma-answer. For example, Ramon Magsaysay, ang correct answer, answer niya ay sa yung letter C, yung Carlos P. Garcia, letter B, yung number 3 is Corazon Aquino, letter A. So, may isang remaining choices dyan na matitira. So, yan siya. So, dito naman tayo sa imperfect matching type. The number of premises in column A is not equal to the number of the responses in column B, or the other way around. The response or the premise can be used more than only example. So, magka-opposite sila sa perfect and imperfect. Ang perfect, mas marami yung column B kaysa sa column A. Ang imperfect naman, mas marami yung column A kaysa sa column B. So, as you can see sa dito sa example, merong 5 na problem sa column A, at saka sa column B naman ay merong solution na 4. So, pwede siyang gamitin makalawa more than once. Yung, for example, consumer-oriented. Yung column B, pwede siyang gamitin makalawa. Unlike sa perfect matching type, makaisa lang siya mai-answer or maggamit. So, sa imperfect naman, yung column B, makalawa siya. Pwede siya either two or more than once. So, yan siya. Madali lang yan kasi always natin yan na-encounter as what I've said. Ito yung pangalawang test, the type of test, which is the subjective test. Ang una yung objective test, and ang pangalawa ay subjective test. Sa subjective test, learning outcomes which indicate learners' ability to originate and express ideas is difficult to test through objective type test. So hence, an subjective type test, answers through reflections, insight, and opinion can be given through essay. So essay test items allow student freedom of response. Students are free to select, relate, and present ideas in their own words. So, yung objective type test naman is more on mga choices, 'di ba? So, or yes, more on choices. So, sa subjective type test naman is answers through reflections, insight, and opinion can be given through essay. So, sa essay na yan, kumbaga, pinapa-answer kayo through essay, and then, nagbigay yung teacher ng question na dapat gawan mo ito ng essay. So, test items allow student freedom of response. Students are free to select, relate, and present ideas in their own words. So, pwede kang, you have to, meron kang freedom or, ano yan siya? Pwede mong ilagay lahat ng thoughts or lahat ng ideas mo which is related sa questions na binigay sa'yo. Lahat ng alam mo, pwede mo siyang ilagay doon sa answer mo, yung mga insight mo about that questions, your reflections, opinion, pwede mo siyang ilagay. So meron tayong dalawang types of essay. The first is restricted response item. This is like an expanded form of short answer type objective test. So there is a limit on both the content scope and the form of students' response. For example, what are the main body parts of plant? Describe each part. Why is the barometer one of the most instrument to forecast the weather? Explain in one paragraph. So parang ito siya, parang form of short answer type objective test. Parang kasi ito siya, limitado siya. Limitado yung pag-answer mo dito. Like for example, what are the main body parts of plant? So hindi mo yan siya pwedeng dagdagan or bawasan. Yung describe each part. So hindi mo rin yan siya pwedeng bawasan at or hindi basta limitado yung mga i-answer mo dyan. So, why is the barometer one of the most instrument to forecast the weather? Explain in one paragraph. So, limited siya kasi i-explain mo daw in one paragraph. So, in short, restricted response item is limited. There is a limit on both the content scope. Yes. So, the next is extended response item. So, the student is generally free to select any factual information that can help in organizing the response. The contents of an extended essay will depend on analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and other higher or order thinking skills of the test takers. For example, evaluate the significance of the result of national referendum of Scotland to the global peace condition. What can you say about NATO's position on the ISIS? Number 3 is comment on the term new normal that refers to the environmental condition and climate change. So sa tatlong question na to, lahat ng nalalaman mo or lahat ng ideas mo, insight, or whatever na alam mo na ideas, pwede mo siyang ilagay dito. Hindi ito siya limitado. The students is generally free to select any factual or correct na impormasyon that can help in organizing the response. Basta lang maayos yung or basta ma-support lang niya yung question. For example, sa tatlong question na to, basta ma-support lang niya yan. Lahat ng nalalaman mong ideas about that question, your insight, your own ideas, pwede mo siyang ilagay dyan kasi hindi siya limitado. Unlike sa restricted response item, pwede mo siyang kasi limitado yan siya. For example, what are the main body parts of plants? So limitado yan siya, hindi mo yan siya pwedeng dagdagan at bawasan. So yun lang. So ito yung yung types of AC that measure complex learning outcomes. So I've already discussed. So ito yung niya. So types of AC test items. So restricted response AC items, extended response AC items. So examples of complex learning outcomes that can be measured. So, ang restricted response items, ability to explain cause and effect relationship. Yun yung mga test niya. Describe the application of principle. Formulate valid conclusion. Enumerate and explain. Explain methods and procedure. So, yung mga ganyan, limitado talaga yan siya. So, ang extended response AC items naman is ability to organize ideas, integrate learning, design an experiment, evaluate the worth of ideas. So, hindi ito siya limitado. Basta as what I've said, you have to free to select lahat factual information para lang ma-support yung mga question na binigay. Lahat ng lahat ng question na binigay, basta ma-support mo lang siya, yung mga ideas mo, yung mga insight, your reflections, basta ilagay mo lang doon para mas maging maganda.